hold on friends, because tonight a hush fell over our dusty saloon like a sudden storm warning. You know that feeling when trouble walks in before anyone even opens their mouth, right? Well, that's exactly what happened when a billionaire stormed into our little Wild West town. He wore his money like a badge shining too bright for this weathered street, and the moment his eyes landed on the waitress Clara, you could taste the tension. She moved quietly with practiced grace, pouring coffee as if nothing could rattle her. But he didn't want coffee, not really. He wanted an audience for his ego. Right there you could see his plan forming, and it wasn't polite at all. So grab your drink, lean in close, because this reply lands like a punchline. And trust me, the man who laughed first never managed to laugh again. Clara was the kind of waitress folks trusted with their secrets and their change. She had that calm look that makes customers behave, even the loud ones. Most people in town only caught a little English from her, and a lot of kindness. But at night, when the doors closed, she spoke German like it was her heartbeat. I'm telling you, her words sounded smooth, steady, and precise, like clockwork. She didn't brag about it either, not even when travelers stared in curiosity. She'd smile, take orders, and let respect do the talking instead. That's why when the billionaire arrived, nobody expected him to pick on Clara. And still he did, because some rich men think manners are optional. That was the part that made everyone uneasy from the very first moment. Now picture this. The saloon doors opened with a squeal of hinges and wind. In walked the billionaire, big hat, polished boots, and a grin sharp enough to cut rope. His name was Walter Hargrove, and he carried himself like the frontier owed him. He looked around at our wood planks, our lanterns, and our rough honesty. Then he pointed at Clara's serving tray like it was a prop on his stage. One of his assistants whispered something, and Walter chuckled without showing warmth. He asked for whiskey, then asked for something special, like that meant Clara's labor. The room went still, because people knew special usually meant trouble. Clara didn't flinch. She just nodded and asked what he wanted exactly. That small patience should have shut him down, but his ego kept walking forward. Walter leaned closer, lowering his voice so the whole saloon could hear it anyway. He said Sagmal, Klein, why heist du, like he owned the language itself. Then he added, BRR, your German sounds funny, and laughed like it was a joke. Clara paused only a second, the way you pause before choosing your next move. She adjusted the tray, met his eyes, and answered with a polite, steady tone. Main name is Clara, she said, and I understand you perfectly. Walter blinked, surprised she corrected him instead of accepting his mockery. But he wasn't done, because people like that feel entitled to keep pushing. He gestured at her accent, then smirked, acting like he was teaching her lessons. That's when you could hear the anger bubbling just under everyone's quiet smiles. Clara took a breath and spoke again, careful and respectful like a bridge across a river. When sei Merchten, kann ich einen English oder Deutsche anbieten, she said calmly. Tell me what you want to drink, and speak like a gentleman, she continued smoothly. Walter rolled his eyes, as if manners were beneath his suit and watch. He leaned back and announced, Fine, then impress me in German, please. He was daring her, trying to trap her between embarrassment and his approval. Clara didn't take the bait. She simply poured his whiskey with exact control. Then she placed the glass down and waited for him to act like a customer. But Walter chose the worst option. He turned her language into a playground. He muttered an insult in German, and the room tightened like a rope about to snap. Here's what Walter said, and I want you to hear the cold disrespect in it. He sneered, Du redest wie ein kaputter Cowboy Song, meaning you talk like a broken cowboy song. Then he added, Everyone else understands me, why can't you? Like her voice was a problem. Clara's face stayed calm, but her eyes told a different story entirely. She didn't shout, she didn't swing, she didn't even let him see her hurt. Instead, she answered in perfect German, clear as church bells over dust. She said, Sei benutzen mein Sprech wie ein Spielzeug, und es ist respektlos. And she translated right after, You're using my language like a toy, and it's disrespectful. Walter tried to laugh again, but it got stuck in his throat halfway. Because in that moment, everyone realized she wasn't just a waitress, she was fluent. Now watch how she turned his mockery into a lesson without raising her voice. Clara leaned slightly forward, like she was speaking to a nervous student. She said, "Wenn Sie gemanden verspotten, Zygan sei Maya über sich als über mich." That means when you mock someone, you reveal more about yourself than about me. She continued, "I worked hard to speak clearly, and I earned every word." Walter's assistant swallowed hard, because they expected humiliation, not authority. Walter, though, wanted control, so he tried one more time to dominate. He asked, "What's your family doing out here?" like she was part of the scenery. Clara smiled softly, and that smile felt like cold steel wrapped in warm leather. Then she answered with the kind of certainty that stops arguments before they start. Clara said, "My family came here because survival required both courage and education." And then she added, "My German was built in classrooms, not in insults from tourists." Walter snapped, "Tourists," then corrected himself like he suddenly feared sounding petty. But Clara didn't chase his anger. She kept her eyes steady and her tone gentle. She said, "You asked for German, so here is the truth you don't like." Then she delivered her reply like a final shot across a dusty range. In German she stated, "Ich bin nicht Ihr Publikum und Sie sind nicht mein Richter." In English that lands like thunder, "I'm not your audience, and you're not my judge." Walter opened his mouth, but nothing came out, like a gun misfiring. The saloon felt frozen. Even the lantern flames seemed to pause for a second. You could hear folks shifting in their seats because they knew what happened next. Clara reached into her apron and pulled out a folded document, smooth and official. Walter stared, confused, like he expected jokes instead of receipts. She said, "You might recognize the name on that contract because it's your company's letter." Then she explained in plain English, "I'm the interpreter you hired for a legal call." Walter's face drained of color, and he tried to remember something he avoided. He whispered that was months ago, but his confidence was already falling apart. Clara nodded, "Yes, and you still spoke to everyone like they were invisible." She added, "I listened then, and I remember how you spoke about labor." The room erupted in murmurs, because people realized this wasn't just rude, it was deliberate. Now here's the twist that made the entire saloon gasp like one giant animal. Walter's assistant suddenly produced a wallet of translated paperwork, clearly from headquarters. He flipped through pages, searching for an agreement they apparently forgot to honor. Clara pointed to a signature line and said, "That's your signature, Mr. Hargrove." Walter's knees went a little loose, and he leaned on the bar for balance. Then Clara calmly said, "You mocked my accent, but you needed my language for your own contract." She finished in German, wird braucht, darf an dir nicht beleidigen, meaning who needs words, mustn't insult. Walter tried to speak again, but his voice cracked like dry wood in winter. Even the sheriff, sitting quietly by the door, looked impressed and stunned, because respect had returned to the frontier, and it came from Clara's mouth. After a long silence, Walter finally managed to nod, but it wasn't smug anymore. He swallowed and said, I didn't realize you were essential to our work." Clara replied, "You don't get to benefit from dignity after you disrespect it." Then she offered the simplest kind of mercy, without letting him off the hook. She said, "If you want to be served, act like you belong at the table." Walter's assistant stepped back, eyes wide, realizing the billionaire had lost control. Walter raised his hands slightly, like he was surrendering without a gunfight. He said, "You're right, and I apologize for mocking you." Clara nodded once, and her expression said, "Apologies don't rewrite your actions, but they matter." That calm closure made everyone quiet in a new, kinder way. Now, friends, this is where Wild West lessons really shine, because it wasn't about money. It was about power, language, and whether you treat people like human beings. Clara didn't retaliate with violence. She retaliated with truth and clarity. And that's a rare skill in any frontier, modern or old-fashioned. Walter left the saloon early, escorted by his team, and nobody cheered when he went. The townsfolk just watched Clara like she was the real hero of the street. Some folks thanked her, others asked how she stayed so calm under pressure. She shrugged and said, "I learned languages the way you learn to ride." She explained, "Practice patience and respect or you fall off fast." And that's exactly what she delivered tonight, even with words instead of bullets. Outside, the wind rattled loose shutters, like the town itself was exhaling. Inside, the bar's heat returned, and everyone finally started speaking again. The sheriff walked over and shook Clara's hand, praising her restraint and courage. He said, "You stood your ground and you kept your honor while doing it." Clara smiled, but her eyes stayed watchful because she knew respect isn't automatic. She reminded everyone anyone can learn phrases, but character takes real work. Then she added in a gentle voice, "And insults only travel farther when you hand them attention." People laughed softly, realizing the truth without needing cruelty to prove it. Walter's assistant promised to review their corporate conduct, and nobody believed it yet. But it was a start, and sometimes starts matter more than speeches. So remember this story when someone tries to belittle you for how you speak. Some folks swing their wealth like a lasso, hoping you'll get tangled in shame. But you can break free with calm confidence and a boundary you don't apologize for. Clara showed that dignity is stronger than sarcasm and accuracy beats arrogance. And the wild part is, Walter mocked her in German, thinking she'd be confused. Instead, she answered in German with precision, and he was the one left speechless. That's the kind of frontier justice I can get behind, because it's earned, not accidental. If this made you sit up, then you know the next episode will hit even harder. Stick with me because real history, real lessons, and real turnarounds keep happening. And you deserve to see them all with your own eyes, right here with us. If you enjoyed this Wild West story, hit that subscribe button and stay with my channel. Give this video a like, because it helps more people find these inspiring frontier moments. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts in the comments about Clara's perfect reply. Tell me what you would have said, and whether Walter deserved that apology or not. Share this video with a friend who loves dramatic comebacks and unexpected twists. If you speak another language, comment how it feels to be understood instead, mocked. And if you've ever been laughed at, tell me what helped you stay strong anyway. I'll be right here, ready to bring you the next shocking tale from the edge of town. Until then, keep your eyes open, your manners sharp, your courage closer. Thanks for watching, partners, and I'll see you in the next one real soon.